3, 2, 1, 0. All engine.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to episode 186 of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And this is... Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was making sure that my microphone was on. I was looking all crazy.
Now you got me kind of concerned. Is mine
yours
on?
is on.
Okay.
I looked at yours first before before we got started, so we didn't have to do it 3 times.
Do you guys notice? She said she looked at mine first.
I did.
But wasn't going to give me a clue. She was going to be like, okay, so she turned hers on just to make sure, but she wasn't.
That's not what happened. I looked at yours first, and then was like, oh, let me make sure mine is on.
Oh, okay. I'll accept that.
Lovey's always trying to like.
She's super competitive. She wants to be able to say, oh, Lovey messed up the audio again.
Really? Because that's what I do.
No. But what do you do?
I would do that though.
See what I'm talking about?
I wouldn't do that.
Wow. No, hey, we want to welcome everybody back to the podcast. There's been so much going on and so much not going on. We're kind of back. The world's opening up again. Everywhere you go, people are not wearing their masks, which is fine. You know what? I mean, the mandates are going away.
So I don't know. How comfortable are you with that? Like, we've been wearing masks for how long now?
I know, 2 years.
It feels like, yeah. So how comfortable are you, like, not wearing your mask anymore?
I'm pretty comfortable, actually, because let me tell you a story. So,
Tell me a story.
So this past weekend, I had to do a work function on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So there was an optometric society that was having a meeting, and I had to go do a presentation. So I went and did that. So I spent the night, Saturday night, at a hotel in the Bay Area, East Bay. And there happened to be a car show. Like all these old dudes.
The old time cars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vintage. It was a vintage car show.
Yeah, vintage, yeah.
So I go in the restaurant to eat. And of course, all the signs around this Hilton facility was saying that, masks are optional if you've been vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. It's like an honor system. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm not tripping. Any place you go when people are eating, they're not going to have their masks on. So I wasn't really. So this guy, as I'm sitting at the table waiting for the waitress to come up and, give me a menu, this one dude was walking towards the bathroom. It was an old guy. You could tell he was kind of gregarious. He just had that look about him, like that jolly Santa kind of look.
Okay, he looked like Santa Claus.
He had like this gray. I can't talk about gray hair because I got a whole lot of platinum.
He had
on
an
me.
actual beard.
Yeah, he had a full-on beard. And anyway, as he walked by, he was like, "Hey, how's it going, fella?" And I was like, "I'm doing good. How are you?" He's like, just great." He asked me, "Are you here for the car show?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know there was a car show." That was the wrong thing to say, because then he parked, stood up talking to me about the car show. No, I don't know a thing about cars. I'm not even into vintage cars.
Now that's a subject. Go ahead.
Anyway, so we're going back and forth. He's like, "Hey, do you like rum?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like rum." So then he starts talking about how I should buy into this rum company that a friend of his started, and he's got like 140,000 shares, and and I checked it out. It looks really interesting, and I'm actually going to get some. Not buying shares into it, but he kept going and going and going. But the reason why I bring that up is because as he was talking, every now and then there were like spit bubbles flying.
Oh God! Why did you say that?
Like little things, like food flying out of his mouth, not towards me.
Okay, wait.
But it was like, and he would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. Oh, I'm sorry about that." And all I could think about was, would it be rude if I put my mask on in the middle of this conversation? Because we were cool up until like stuff started flying out of his mouth, and I was like, "Ooh,
oh God,
I want to put my mask on."
First of all, why would you tell this story on air? That's first. Why would you tell me? Because now I'm sick to my stomach. Oh my gosh.
But this is true. So he sat there, and I kept saying, "Okay, you know what? Hey, I appreciate you. I got to get back to work."
Food yet?
No, I didn't even see the waitress yet. She actually, I think she saw us talking, and she came over to save me. So she came over and I was like,
Yeah, can you write
hey.
the table down, please?
So he starts going, hey, how you doing? Talking to the waitress. And she's like, oh, I'm doing good. And so they apparently had interactions throughout the evening. He was kind of lit. He was drunk. But it was one of those things where I was like, oh, and she gave me that look like, I'm so sorry. And so she started talking to me while he was talking to me, but she was talking to me about the food. So of course I diverted my attention to her. The more I talked to her and engaged with her, the more he was like, all right, well, hey, I'll see you around. I'm like, okay, see you later. And as soon as I said that, he's like, yeah, but you got to get this rum. He started going again. But the food stopped flying. But I say all that because
oh my gosh.
You said, how comfortable am I not wearing a mask?
I'm never not wearing a mask ever again.
I was pretty comfortable until this dude started having stuff fly out of his. I was like, wow, okay.
Now I have a visual of a Santa Claus sitting there talking and he's spraying stuff. But imagine. So thank you, Lord, that your food wasn't there.
Oh, right. It was like projectile. It wasn't like it was like
I don't care
far.
If it was
it never made
right here on his chin.
Pretty much. I mean, it never really made it past his chest.
Good Lord. Now I'm sick to my stomach.
But
I can't believe you told me
in those situations, I'm very interested in wearing a mask again. Not so much, just being out and about. I've gone into stores now without my mask and I carry it with me. It's so funny. I carry it with me because if I feel a need, I want to put it on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to make sure I have mine also. And I kind of just check, like I check out but the scenery, see if there's people wearing masks.
They look diseased. Let me put my mask on.
That kind of way. But, I just, sometimes depending on where I'm at, I'll put my mask on because I'm being weaned off of it. Yeah. And then too, with the condition, I don't know.
Right. Because we're still working back from your cardiology challenge. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, you have your appointment coming up this week. Mm-hmm. Follow up. So that's going to be exciting. Hopefully you get, clean bill of health or at least moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm ready.
Well, that's what's going on with us. But here's one other thing. We've got more to talk about because this will be coming out on Wednesday and there's been a lot of stuff that's happened. And what is so funny. Well, before we even go there,
okay,
let's pay some of the bills.
Okay.
So listen,
American Express. No.
Look at you. No, we want to ask each and every one of you to go out to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a rating. Go there and leave 5 stars. Invite a friend as well. Invite a friend and have them go to Apple Podcasts or to Spotify and join the community, join the conversation, listen to the podcast. And of course, we'd love for you to rate it. That's how you can actually give back to us. And that is just by giving a rating on one of those 2 platforms or wherever you're listening to us, just keep listening and subscribing, even if you're not on those 2 platforms, and tell a friend. That would be huge. And then don't forget to go over to marriedintocrazy.com. And there's several things you can do right there on the website. The website is going to be changing relatively soon.
It's going to be updated.
Soon and very soon. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. It's exciting times. Lots of rebranding going on, some changes, some platforms. We've got some great stuff that we're doing, working with our consultant. There's a lot of things coming up. And if you want to stay in the know, definitely go to marriedintocrazy.com. Go ahead and save that, bookmark it, because that's also a place where you can go to the store for Married Into Crazy and you can get some of the cool gear, like my hat. And there's a variety of things. There's like a crop top sweatshirt. Just go there and check it out. There's a lot of different things that appeal to different people. The one thing I'm excited about that I just finally ordered for myself, instead of gifts for other people, I actually ordered my own apron.
I was about to say, your apron?
I'm ready to get my cue on. I'm going to be out there with the fellas.
Or you could just be in the kitchen.
It
doesn't have to be cute.
No, only the barbecue.
Wow. Are you serious?
I'm not there.
Okay.
I'm not there yet.
I won't push you.
I'll wear it to the microwave. And
really? The microwave?
But go to marriedintocrazy.com and then go ahead and look at the coaching tab. Go ahead and look at, book a discovery call, have a conversation with us, become part of our coaching family. You can also go to the store and get some gear as well. Look,
and you can also become part of our Iron Tribe on Facebook, the marriage community.
Yep. So Iron Tribe, the marriage community, is there as well. We do a lot of interactions. I threw up a question earlier today regarding the whole Will Smith fiasco. Will Smith and Chris Rock, and this is what's funny. The last week, after we finished the last podcast, I approached Snooks and said, because I've been reading his book. So I guess I'm kind of promoting it, but the book, Will, is a great read. It's phenomenal. People have been talking about it. And so I actually received it as a gift. And so I've been reading Will. And I like the hardback because there's so much in the book. I've been underlining and, look, you can tell like there's like little tabs in here that I've been creating because there's little cool things, not just about his life, but there's life lessons. And there's some things that have been applicable to achieving and getting better and relationships. It's just been really cool. And I told Snooks, like, hey, there was this one passage that I think is really cool. I'd like you to read it. She read it. And then we thought, we should talk about this on the podcast. So we'd already said that this is going to be the topic. And then all hell broke loose yesterday at the Oscars. And so we're going to do what we said we were originally going to do and talk about this, but then discuss how it relates to what transpired yesterday. Are you cool with that?
Okay.
So I'm going to read this excerpt, right?
I'm game.
All right. So
you need glasses?
I do not need glasses. I should get my glasses.
I was just asking.
Okay. So he talks about, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's on page 193 in the chapter called Adaptation. And it's interesting because he talks about a Buddhist parable, and I'm going to read it verbatim. It says, there's a Buddhist parable that has guided me through many a perilous transition. A man is standing on the banks of a treacherous, raging river. It's rainy season. If he can't get to the other side, he's done. He quickly builds a raft and uses it to safely cross the river. In joyous relief, he high-fives himself, lifts the raft, and heads toward the forest. But as he attempts to make his way through the dense tree cover, the raft is banging and knocking into trees and becoming entangled. No pun intended for entangled, but the raft is becoming entangled in the vines, preventing him from moving forward. He only has one chance for survival. He must leave the raft behind. The vessel that saved his life yesterday is the same one that will kill him today if he does not let it go. The raft represents our outmoded ideas and old ways of thinking that no longer serve us. For example, the same angry, aggressive persona you cultivated as a child to protect yourself from bullies and predators will now destroy every relationship you have if you're unwilling to let it go. Things can be perfectly useful and absolutely necessary during certain periods of our lives, but a time will come when we must put them aside or die. Simply put, if we don't adapt, we become extinct. Again, that's on page 193 of Will's book called Will. And we thought we were going to be discussing this, and we will to a certain extent, about how does that apply to our relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of me talking, so Snooks hasn't really chimed in yet.
Well, because I didn't know if you were going to make a point.
Well, the point is that I think that it's very apropos when it comes to marriages, because there's a lot of things that I believe when you come together, there's a lot of things that served us well in our singlehood, that allowed us to thrive as a single person, to achieve, to move forward in careers, or just get past traumatic times. And the skill sets that we develop to get us through those things may not necessarily be as useful or resourceful when you get into a relationship.
I agree. So do you remember, I know you know Salt and Pepper. One of my favorite songs by them is called Independent. Do you remember that song?
No.
I am independent. I make my own money. Don't tell me how to spend it. You need me. I don't need you. All that. Okay. So loved that song.
Okay.
I play that song, me and my little black Nissan, and we riding down the freeway. I mean, I played it like crazy. So I related to that song. Well, and because that really was me. I was very independent. I'm still independent. But I was raised to be independent. My mother, I've said it several times, my mom was a single mom. And so she did not raise me to teach me. She didn't teach me how to be a wife. I didn't learn how to be a wife until we was getting ready to get a divorce.
She did not teach you how to be a wife.
She didn't. My mother was very a stickler on you take care of yourself. You don't rely on anyone else to take care of you. You have your own money, all these things, because in actual, eventually people will let you down. So that's how I grew up, and that's what was ingrained in me. And she wasn't saying it to be like a man basher or anything like that. She was saying it based on her experiences, based on her disappointments, I'll say, in her marriage to my father. And then having to take care of 2 kids, by herself. And at the time we were living in the Bay Area, and it was hard. So she always told me, don't make the same mistakes that I made. Not saying that, no, don't get married and don't have no kids or anything like that, but don't do the things that I did. Follow her example, and do the opposite. So
it's almost like do as I say, not as I do. Or is it do as I do, not as I say?
Kind of both, I think, to a certain extent, because initially, of course, my mom got married young, but she also got divorced young too. And that the do what I say and not as I do was more about how we need to do stuff around. You know how that is. You got chores, you got to do this, you got to do that, blah, 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 whatever. Don't do this, don't do yada, 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 based on her experiences. But then when it came to taking care of herself, do as I do and do what I say at the same time. So I get that. And that caused a problem in our marriage, I feel like, because when you started, I don't know, I don't want to say when you're being the man, but when you're.
That's right. I was being the man.
So silly. When our relationship, we're our hierarchy, I should say, the Lord comes first and then us, right?
Right.
And so when we take on that, man is you're the provider, you're all those things, I'm like, shoot, I'm a provider myself. So
let's keep it real. She was the provider because
I made more money.
Brother Man was making about 1/3 of what Snooks was making at the time. But
it wasn't, I never, and just to put this out there too, it was never well, I make more than you,
no,
blah, blah, blah.
You never did that. You never said
any of that. But I still felt like I make money. So I don't want to do what you're saying that we're going to do. I don't want to do this investment thing. I don't want to do blah, blah, blah. I want to take the money and I want to do that.
Shop. So
when and you never was like, well, I'm the man, but you were like, well, I'm going to make the executive decision. We've had that.
She was like, no, we're making 2 executive decisions.
Bump all that. Exactly. I was not feeling that. So to Will's point, that served me really well when I was single, but it did not serve me when we got married. And I'm just keeping it real too. That helped me weed out guys prior to you. There were certain things that
INDEPE.
I'm
like, come on,
didn't align.
I'm glad you had it.
Didn't align with how I felt. Because what if I gave in at that point to, the one before you or whatever, and been like, okay,
that's a good point.
Blah blah blah, whatever. No,
if you say we need to be together, we'll be together. That independence saved you.
Well, yeah, and not only in the way that if you say we'd be together, just the way that the relationship ran. If I would have took my barriers down, if I would have just let it go and just been like, okay, well, I'll follow what you say. I'll do like how you, I was like, I ain't doing that.
Whatever you like.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't standing on one foot barking, but that saved me because it was like, what is it? I'm sorry, what now? Mm-mm. So like, to his point, I totally get that. So I had to make the adjustment after year 4.
Because you was carrying that raft and hitting all kinds of trees and
I
vines.
was trying to take trees down. I ain't even going
But it wasn't just you.
to tell no lie.
If you think about it, it wasn't just you, because the things that had served me, I'm a chameleon. I've always been a chameleon in my life.
You're not a chameleon.
No, I'm talking about I could be whatever what was needed for the situation. I could go into any crowd, even to this day, and hold a conversation. It's just a skill set. I can read a room, see what's needed, and be and provide whatever is needed. Be what I was like the Apostle Paul to a certain extent. I can be many things to many people. And that was a strength because of the environments that I had to run in. So if it was corporate America, I can do the corporate speak. If I was back home in the neighborhood, I can hang with the fellas. But it was funny because it was a skill set that was developed because I was never good enough. I never fit in any one place. I was never Black enough.
Okay, but don't ever say you weren't ever good enough.
No, I'm just saying, but based on their perspective, not my perspective.
Now I'm finna get mad for real.
You gonna slap somebody?
Wow.
No.
Wow. Okay.
No, but it was one of those things where I was never Black enough, or I was never white enough, or I wasn't educated enough, or I was too educated, or it was just one of those things where I never felt like I 100% fit. So my defense mechanism was learn enough to where if somebody only had to jump 5 feet, I need to learn how to jump 6, just so I can even be in the class or the consideration of people that are jumping 5 feet. I always had to be able to fit in some way, shape, or form. So my defense mechanism, the raft I had to build, was one that was going to allow me to fit in any situation that I was in, no matter what. You're not going to tell me that I can't sit at the table because I didn't know the subject matter or I didn't belong. I'm going to make you be like, oh, you know what you're talking about. Well, a little bit, but I'm not going to let you know it's just a little bit,
Right.
But I'm going to fit. But the problem was I learned how to be so many things to so many people that sometimes I lost myself. I never really truly had an opportunity to form my personality. So that contributed to year 4, to you asking for a divorce, because I was so into being what you needed, but I was also being what my mother needed.
So basically you were the whatever you like.
Kind of. Okay. But in my own way, yeah. I was kind of like, okay, whatever you need. Whatever you need. I wasn't hopping on one foot and barking, but it was like, whatever you need. Okay, the dutiful son, I can do that. Oh, the attentive husband, I can do that. But the thing is, I was overbalancing and trying to be both of those things at the same time, and it didn't mix. So that raft that I was carrying, that had served me so well in the military, I was able to adapt and overcome. And it's one of those things where that raft was now, like you said, knocking trees down and all that. So what I used to survive was now killing my prospects of thriving in this new environment.
I was going to say, but I think the problem is that the environment is new. So a lot of times what happens is we take, you're talking about baggage, we take our old bags or even old furniture and we put it into the brand spanking new house or whatever. And eventually it starts to smell like the old house. It starts, what I'm saying?
Right.
It doesn't, it's not the newness is gone because we've saturated with all of the oldness. So many people do that, not just in defense mechanisms, but well, actually, I would like to stay on that because there are so many relationships that have been destroyed because of what happened previously. You're like, oh, well, it ain't gonna happen to me this time because I'm gonna be watching and I'm gonna be blah, blah, blah. And but I always feel like if that is how you're going into the relationship, you don't need to be in it. You know what I'm saying? Don't go in that forest. You get on that raft and you keep going downstream until you're ready
It's like you're entering the
Or
relationship looking
whatever.
for a fight.
Well, yeah. I'm because I already know, because fool me once, shame on you. And I get all of that. I promise you I do. But if that's my attitude going into it, I'm already saying basically this ain't going nowhere. It's
Well,
not gonna
true.
last.
That's a whole other conversation about vulnerability and not bringing that baggage in. But the question remains, what has served you extremely well in your lives as single people that really made you who you were, that you felt is like, okay, that's part of my identity. That's part of who I am. This is what I do. This is what saved me. I know what my strength is, but that same thing, that raft that you built to save you, how many of you are carrying that in a completely different environment now? And that raft that saved you is the exact same thing that is killing your ability to move forward in your new environment as a married couple or as an engaged couple.
And you're wondering, why is this not working?
Oh,
Why are these trees keep coming down? I don't understand. And the more you turn, you're hitting everything.
And you're like, I'm not letting go of this raft because this raft is my lucky raft.
But this is, I don't understand. Well, how come? I mean, that happens so many times.
What is your raft? Your raft was independence.
Yes,
to a certain extent.
Was independence.
A type of independence.
That was one. Yeah.
You see, that was. I think we have multiple.
That's
a good point.
I know I did. I still got some rafts.
You do. No, no, but my raft, my primary raft was being able to be many things to many people. And it's funny because even now in my corporate career, I've reached a point where I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm successful for a specific reason. I'm successful because I am who I am, and the way I do things, and I'm very transparent and authentic. And I'm not going to lose my authenticity in order to check a box or do these things and get involved with certain corporate speak. No, my clients like me because of who I am and how I service them. And and I enjoy that. That gives me fulfillment. So I'm going to keep doing this. I'm about to have a conversation I've been having conversations. There's some promotions that are out there that I used to really want. Now I'm like, if it shows up, it shows up, based on who I am. I'm not going to alter. I'm not going to sit here and try and carry the raft you're giving me from a corporate standpoint in order to get to this next level, because I'm not going to carry that raft. I'm going to be who I'm supposed to be. So
let me ask this question, because you said something about checking a box. And I'm not going to be this way or whatever, to check a box to fit into whatever. So there are people, and I've had conversations with some, that not necessarily say checking a box, but it's implied that I'm not going to change who I am to fit in with blah, 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 to make this person feel like a certain kind of way. When does it become more than just checking a box? Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. So like, if I say someone comes to me and they're complaining about something, and I'm like, there's something in the relationship, I'm like, well, maybe you should change this, blah, 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 because that will lend cohesiveness to your relationship. And they in turn think of it as more, not necessarily letting go of the raft, but I'm just checking the box to make her feel better or to make him feel better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's what you're saying. But I guess it depends on
what the intent is of the relationship.
Exactly. It's like, what do you want? It's just like we always talk about. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, I'm right. I'm going to do this. I mean, but is the intent to be happy? Is it really worth it if it's not going to give you happiness and fulfillment and cohesiveness and harmony? And I think that when you're talking about, somebody's asking a question, if they're complaining about something, they have a problem or a challenge with something, and then you offer a solution and it's a valid solution, they're going to be like, I'm not doing that. If it goes against, your philosophical, okay, then you got to find some balance, because people are always choosing their philosophical beliefs over harmony and happiness. But I want harmony. I want happiness. I want a cohesive place. I want to have, Zen in my home, but not if it means I got to do this. Then you really don't want Zen in your home.
You're not willing to do what's necessary to have that zen. And we'll always bring it back to, and unless there's abuse going on or
Right.
something like that, I'm not saying, oh, I gotta, so he won't be mad. No, if he's hitting you or she's hitting you, then have an escape plan.
So
It's
you're
time
out
to
there.
go.
So you guys are probably out there like, okay, so what's this got to do with Will again?
It's
And
his book.
yeah, right. Not only is it his book, but there's a certain point, there's a saying out there that people misconstrue when they say knowledge is power. What Will shared in his book on that page, that parable is some deep, he was waxing deep when it came to some knowledge, right? That parable was very true. And we saw the relevance of it because we wanted to talk about it prior to all the stuff that happened yesterday at the Oscars. We wanted to discuss it because of its applicability to our relationships. It's straight knowledge. But when you write something in a book or you put something down or you share it in story form with somebody to help them out, knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the application of that knowledge? So you have an example here of a man, because I'm reading his book. So I've read about when he was a child and the path that he went through and the music and the gangs that he used to, or the particular gang in Philly that he used to hang out with, that he was very close to. And the transition to Hollywood. I don't want to give anything away in the book, but there's different things. There's certain behaviors that were embedded in him because of his father, because of a cousin of his, because of the people he hung out with. A certain Philly swag, if you will, a swagger about him. And I hate that word swagger, but there was a certain swagger, a Philly swagger, an East Coast thing that he had about him that gave him a certain killer instinct when it came to business and making decisions and being successful. Him and Jazzy Jeff, him and JL, that's his manager. And the things that they did in order to navigate the music industry as well as navigate television and movies. But that rap that he was carrying, certain amount of bravado, a certain amount of, macho, it showed up yesterday. And when that swagger, when that rap no longer serves you, you have to be able to put it down. And I truly believe that yesterday was an opportunity to apply the knowledge that he had shared with all of us in his book, but he didn't put his rap down. Regardless of the reasons, because here in our house, I'm kind of Team Will and Snooks is kind of Team Chris. But I'm just saying that there was an opportunity for him to put the raft down and not destroy some trees, tear some vines, and destroy a few things. Because let me get back to the specific quote. Simply put, if we don't adapt, we become extinct. And I think that he contributed. I'm not saying he's going to become extinct, but he contributed in a small, maybe in a big way, a small, I don't know what's going to transpire. He contributed to the extinction of the Will Smith, the persona that we all had in our minds.
Of the Will Smith integrity.
The integrity, right. You even said, what did you say? You said that Will Smith lost some points with you.
Yeah.
Based on what he did yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, being emotional. And that's that I think is the thing. We talk about applied knowledge and whatever. For me, I never apply knowledge when I'm emotional, when I'm in my feelings, when I'm like, what you hurt somebody's somebody I care about, I'm never logical, ever. Well, for the most part,
He said in his apology today, he issued an apology, and he even stated that, I was in an emotional state. I let my emotion, it basically said I led with my emotion instead of taking a moment. And he did. And he apologized to Chris finally. And I still think that there was an opportunity to apply. But like you said, when you're in that moment,
when you're emotional,
this is one of those things where, we need to apply, we need to extend some grace to both of them. It's funny. It's like will and grace. This is all about will and grace, not the TV show, but.
So who's you said we need to apply grace to both of them.
Well, to a certain extent, it's like, okay, some people are the team will people out there in social media and in the media and what have you. They're like, oh, Chris should have never actually said that because of Jada's disease state. And there are other people that was like, oh, Will shouldn't have been this toxic male, masculinity, this toxic masculinity, and struck out to him. And there's people also, within, the African American camp. It's like, how are you going to get up there on national TV and show your butt after it's taken so long to receive acceptance by the Academy for inclusion when it comes to the awards and all these different things? Because not that long ago, the conversation was not that long ago, just a few years ago, it was, Oscar, it was hashtag Oscar so white. How there was no people of color that were receiving awards or being included or what have you, that the Academy was knocking about. And now all of a sudden, there's some, I don't say domination, but there's some definite inclusion going on and recognition. And then this happens. It's like, oh.
So here's my thing, as far as that goes. Unfortunately, this happened. First of all, it's unfortunate that it happened at all, but it's a double unfortunate that it happened the night that he received his award for best Oscar.
Yeah, let's not forget.
I didn't even best actor. So there's only been what, 3, 4?
I don't even know.
I think 4.
Denzel,
Jamie Foxx, Cuba Gooding Jr., Sidney Poitier, and now Will Smith. There's been 5.
Okay.
So
look at you rattling it off like that. Go, girl.
I know my man. No.
What? Wait, what? Look, if Idris ever gets a nomination, she's going to hold her first, Oscar party.
Oscar party.
Anyway, go ahead.
No, but I'm just saying, the events that happened. So we'll always remember Will Smith was number 5, or, he made it into the club. Oh yeah, but that's the day he slapped Chris Rock.
It's going to be the asterisk.
So it will always be overshadowed. Just like when we talk about let's talk about we're not going to talk about it, but in Ferguson, the water in Ferguson, how they couldn't drink the water and stuff.
Oh, that's not Ferguson. That's in
Flint. I'm sorry,
Flint,
Ferguson.
Michigan.
Ferguson was when what's his name got killed.
Right.
Sorry. So, either one of them. So 2 tragic things happened. But what were people talking about? They were talking more about, because the looting and the rioting, and that's what they called it when there was a lot of protesting that was happening. So they couldn't see the forest for the trees, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I said, you can see the forest of the trees because
all you're concerned and all you're thinking about
instead of the historic.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what that will forever be tied.
Well, that's Will's fault.
And that is Will's fault.
And I admit that, though. I'm just putting it out there. Look, I consider myself, an even keeled guy. I think I can extend grace to a lot of individuals. But if I'm in an emotion and I feel like you coming from my wife, make sure that your premiums are paid up on your life insurance, because I can't guarantee what would happen. Look, I liken this to, you're like, oh, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. You're promoting violence. No, I'm not promoting violence. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do. I'm not Will, right? I'm not in a relationship with Jada. I just know how I feel about Snooks. And I feel like if you come from my wife in any way, shape, or form, particularly if she's suffering, that's like somebody making a joke about her, your cardiac event, and I might lose it.
Well,
but I just want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things people don't realize, they don't understand, because we make these decisions, these snap judgments based on limited information. There's a couple of things I had pointed out to you earlier that I think are at play here, at least from Will's perspective. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. But I do know that in the book, he talks about when his first big movie role was Stockard Channing, and it was in 6 Degrees of Separation. His first movie was a critically acclaimed movie where he played a young man that was a con artist that convinced this wealthy couple that he was Sidney Poitier's son. And when I say critically acclaimed, he didn't get an Oscar. As a matter of fact, Stockard Channing either won an Academy Award for that movie, or I know she was nominated
You're giving a lot of background.
I know I am. But anyway, I'm saying, but it was that critically acclaimed. It was a great movie. But the challenge was Will started doing method acting. So he was trying to become the character. He became the character to such a degree that it really started to damage Fresh Prince.
Mhm.
And it damaged his relationship with his first wife because it was just horrible what was going on. Right. And when he was nominated for King Richard, right?
Mhm.
His role in King Richard, he made a comment in his acceptance speech where he had mentioned how Richard Williams was a fierce fighter for his family or fierce defender of his family. And I think that I truly believe that there's a portion of Will that was still in character, or he had not completely closed the door on the character of Richard Williams. And when he heard the joke about Jada, he snapped. He kind of went into King Richard mode and did what I could truly see Richard Williams doing, walking up on stage and slapping some dude if they had talked about Venus Serena or his ex-wife. So there's that component. And then in the book, it also talks about how they met, how he and Jada met. And I felt like it was destined. Like they're an incredibly unique couple and how they view the world and how they exercise their relationship. I'm not saying that I agree with 100% with everything, but I think that there's a component there. She's crossing her arms the whole 9 yards.
I'm just because I'm cold.
And she's like, I ain't buying into any of that. But I think there was something to that, right? Where I think there was a persona challenge for him that he was still caught up in King Richard when that transpired yesterday.
Okay, I don't think that, but that's not me. I mean, because King Richard came out when, so they stopped shooting that movie last year. So you still not out of character? Look, I don't know. I'm just saying it is what it is as far as that goes. One thing though, I understand the part about him being very upset and getting, emotional, especially when you're talking about someone who has a condition, a disease, and alopecia is no joke. I don't know about all women. I can only speak for the ones that I know. And that's a fear for some people,
And Black women have a challenge with, there's a hair thing, if you will.
Well, so yeah, I was gonna go there. A lot of people, and I'll specifically state some Black women, and not just Black women, but other women too, in different cultures and stuff. Your hair is like your pride and your joy. That's your crown. That shows how beautiful you are. That's, because that's what guys like. They like women with long hair. Most of them. I can't say all of them, but I know when I was growing up, they liked long hair. Oh, your hair's so long, so beautiful, blow, whatever. That's why some people wear wigs, not because their hair is short. I will slap one on not a wig, because I don't know how to put them on, but if I found one that was really cute. I can
teach you. I got a hold of some wigs.
Yeah.
I wore some wigs.
But if I found one that was really cute, I don't have a problem putting it on, and it's not because, I have hair in me, because I have long hair, but I like it for the convenience. I like the styles, whatever. But one thing about women, when you lose your hair, some of them feel like they've lost a part of themselves. And how emotional is it for someone to lose their hair? Because hair hides you sometimes. I always sit here before we get started and I'm like, oh my God, look at my hair. It's looking all crazy or whatever. But hair can hide you. Hair can be a shield for some of the emotions that you feel, whatever. When you have no hair, that's just all you. So I don't know how emotional I would be. I know how emotional I would be. But we don't know her emotional state. We don't know how she was dealing with it. You know, Jada to me is very pretty anyway. So
Jada can rock anything.
I was about to say she rocks shoulder. I've never seen her hair like heck long or anything like that, but she rocks short hair. She rocks whatever length. I think she's very pretty. So her being bald, when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, I see you, Jada. You cut your hair off. I didn't know about the alopecia. But you know, I guess people were saying that she's been very vocal about it. I don't follow her. Like,
right.
I'm not following anyone like that unless it's Idris. But
right.
But I'm, you know, so I did not know that was it wasn't a style per se as much as it was a necessity. So she shaved her hair off because her hair's been falling out. Her hair was falling out. So she just shaved her hair off. So, okay, we don't know, you know, like I keep going back to that, how that made her feel.
We don't know how fragile she is. We don't know what conversations took place before.
Exactly.
Did Will have to build up her confidence to go to the Oscars in order to present in that manner? I mean, we don't know. She might be like, I don't got a problem with these.
Right.
But we don't know. I think that it's part of your identity to a certain extent, especially a Black woman.
But because we've been...
The hair debate has been going on long before.
Look, Madam C.J. Walker, there was a series on that, you know. And so hair it means something to people, to most people, I should say, because there's some people that be like, I don't care about it. But I know some ladies that have alopecia and they're just like, okay, I got it now. But initially, like I said, that was a part of them. That's like losing an arm or something. You know, I identify with my hair. The hair industry is billions of dollars. So
you're saying Will was right for going up there and smacking her?
No, I don't say that. I say I can understand, because I would be protective of if I knew that, like, someone, you felt some kind of way about something,
a condition or something, right?
Yeah, you already feel subconscious about it. And then if I felt like someone attacked it, I promise you, we're going to have words. I promise you, we're going to have words. Because I'm not finna slap nobody, because number one, I don't want you pressing charges. I can't go to jail.
You're lying. Look,
I can't go to jail.
I'm not going to talk about a situation, but there was a situation where I was attacked. My integrity was attacked, whatever. Snooks overheard the conversation. She was ready to go cut a person. So you can't tell me that you wouldn't. You was like, no. Look, she lost her testimony like 5 times that day, and several days after.
Whatever. Because
she wanted to go after some folks that had attacked my integrity, or at least not so much my integrity, but to a certain extent. And they were wrong, and it all shook out.
I don't even want to talk about them.
See,
I'm still mad at that.
See? So in those moments, we don't know what we're going to do. But I think that grace needs to be extended. Mm-hmm. And people just need to stop talking about it. You know, I know we're talking about it on our podcast.
Bro, what are you talking about? It just happened yesterday.
I know, but it's one of those things where
we didn't even see it.
Grace needs to be extended. So I think we're going to call this podcast Will and Grace. And
the problem that I have, though, I mean, it goes back to, you know, it's just the things that we teach. You know, you cannot extend your emotions to where you become violent. Because what if Chris Rock was like, what? And then they start fighting.
Somebody said, what would have happened if it was Chris Tucker up there instead of Chris Rock? It would have been a different outcome.
Well, see, then too, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't follow people like that. But of course, it's just inundated right now on the internet. And then someone was like, well, this has been going back since 2016, blah, blah, blah. They have a history, yada, yada. I don't either.
I just know, like, if it would have been D-Ray, or it would have been, what's his name? Cole?
Dion. Dion Cole.
Dion Cole. Oh, please. If it would have been Dion Cole, look, Will might have got shot right there on stage. A little
uncouth. He's not uncouth. They don't act like that. But no, I just wonder, though, I don't know. I don't know.
Let that have been Bernie Mac.
That's
You want to come
it.
up here and talk about me? You gonna try to hit me up here? Look, Bernie would have burned him down.
He wouldn't have tried to do that to Bernie Mac.
No, you do that to who you think you can get away
I
with.
don't think he would have did that to Bernie Mac. I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's a personal kind of thing or whatever. He got in his feelings. We don't know. I don't know.
I will say this.
One thing though, before you say it, or before you say anything, what I appreciate about Will Smith though is the fact that he was like, he had her back. You know what I'm saying?
Ride or die.
Exactly. I don't think that he should have did it that way, but that's not for me.
Like
I can just only give my own opinion or whatever, but you can't come for my wife, like you said, or my husband, especially if I know I have backstory that this is something that I'm struggling with or that she's struggling with or whatever. Maybe he didn't know that. That's like attacking somebody.
Chris didn't know.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe he didn't know that. That's like you don't make jokes about cancer patients. You don't make jokes about mental health patients. Well, people have because they don't know their mental health, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you have a condition, it's an autoimmune condition where your body starts attacking your hair follicles. Will you die from it? No. But if it makes me feel some kind of way to where it breaks me down and I'm emotional and it does something for my self-esteem, which in fact will do something to my mental health, then that's a problem.
I agree. And you know what? And look, I know we've been talking about will and grace, extending grace to Will. I think we also need to extend, I don't know if it's congratulations
to Chris Rock.
Yeah, the restraint. I think one of the things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That we as men have a tendency to do is we don't know how to exercise restraint. That is a strength. Some people say, "Oh, he's weak for not having." I've seen it. People are out there talking about, "Oh, he's weak. He a punk for not." No, I feel like Chris Rock's response was a masterclass in restraint and professionalism. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know that I would have had that or been as sharp, and to
get back to the
that was amazing for him to be able to pivot that quickly.
I think
and continue to keep the show going and all that. That is the epitome. What do they say? That a showman, it's like the show must go on. Mm-hmm. And
also too, you think about what could I lose from carrying on like this? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Right. If it was like that or whatever, I don't just mean like, oh, professional or whatever. You have children, you have kids, and we're telling our kids, use your words. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, true.
But Daddy, why are you on stage fighting?
Well, Jaden came out today. It was like, that's how we do.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
And I get it because he's protecting his mama.
And his dad too.
Yeah, and trust me, Jaden's, that apple doesn't fall too far. None of them. And Will, the only person you don't really see out there is Trey, his oldest. But I
know who Trey is.
I just feel as if, there was a lot that happened yesterday. There's going to be a lot more that comes out about it. But I think that grace needs to be extended in every direction to Chris, to Will. But I also wanted to bring it back to what we were going to talk about originally, and that was that parable that talked about carrying a raft. The raft that Will had used to get him to where he is no longer served him in that moment and should have put it down. Now, you don't have the mindset that we're willing to do it right there and then, but I feel as if that's just my opinion. So,
but even bringing that back to relationships and stuff, just how quickly that happened with Will Smith, that happens in relationships with people. I'm doing so good. I'm doing blah, 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 whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm knocking the trees down again because I didn't messed up because whatever it is, I made a mistake. So I think it's appropriate when you talk about the grace part of it, because we do have to learn how to extend grace to our partners when they don't do something the way that we want them to do it. Isn't it funny though? Here's the thing. When we were growing up, our parents told us one time, you have to, I'm only going to tell you one time. I ain't saying it again.
Right.
So they told us one time, we better do this or we better not do that. Okay. So I think I said this before. We cannot have our relationships be the way that we grew up. We can't parent our partners.
Oh, I'm just going to tell you this one time, and if you don't do it, you're out.
You know what I'm saying? I can't parent you. What would I already told you that? Blah blah. How many times have we heard that? So many times. I told you that before. Blah 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 blah. Okay.
You got 25 more times.
You did tell me. You're going to tell me 10 more times before this month is out.
How many years did it take for me to know not to put cheese on your hamburger?
That is the absolute simplest thing. I don't like cheeseburgers. Lovey would bring me a cheeseburger home. I'm like, why and it's American cheese at that. If it was cheddar cheese, he might get a pass. If it was a bacon cheeseburger, that's different, but not with American cheese.
Okay.
I would. Okay,
Bubba Gump. She going all Bubba Gump on the cheese.
I'm just stressing how no cheese. When I say hamburger, how do I get a cheeseburger though?
Anyway.
But the thing is, you're going to have to extend that grace, because just because you told me something one time, that doesn't mean that I'm going to remember or whatever. And let's not take it personal if I do it wrong.
Right.
Because so many times, they did it on purpose because he knows it bothers me, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that's just not the case.
A lot of times it's not the case. The person's doing it. They may not be doing it with all their heart and with all their conviction, but they're doing it. They're putting forth some effort.
Right.
Let's recognize that effort. But again, let's extend grace, not just to our spouses, but to ourselves. No, we've got to figure out that once we recognize that this is not working for me anymore, meaning the wrath that got me here is no longer serving me in the manner in which I needed to in order for me to take my relationship and move it forward. Mm-hmm. I don't want to lose the relationship. So maybe I need to put this wrath down and maybe pick up something else, a different wrath or a different self-assess.
And if you don't know how to self-assess, then go to mic.com, hit the coaching tab.
It's marriedintocrazy.com. I don't know where you'll go if you go to mic.com, but marriedintocrazy.com is a place where you can go and actually get access to the assessment. And we do an assessment for married couples as well as for those individuals that are premarital, that you're trying to understand each other.
First of all, you knew exactly what I was talking about.
But they don't. So I was like, I went to mic.com and it was like some porn song. I don't even know what that takes you to. I didn't want to buy a microphone. This is a microphone website that Snooks and Lovey told me to go to. No, look, y'all.
That's funny.
Sorry, we enjoy each and every one of you. We're thankful for you coming back every week and listening to the podcast, participating in the conversations. Please, please, please share the podcast with a friend. Invite someone to subscribe, and then invite them as well as yourself, again, to go to Apple Podcast or Spotify. Leave a review, leave a rating, and we hope to see you again in the near future.
Yes. Don't go to mic.com.
So until the next time, be blessed.
Bye-bye.